Well, we're going back a lot of years. I was a nurse at Prince Henry Hospital doing my training, and Les was a young policeman, and one of my friends met a boyfriend on a blind date, and she came home after about a fortnight and she said, you know, he's got a really nice friend. I think we should set you two up for a date.
She didn't know me very well, did she?
No. When we went down to the car, Les had a new Volkswagen then, and I couldn't see his face. I just saw the outline. And I said, remember, I'm in the front seat, to Robin. Robin said, oh.
She must have figured I owned the Volkswagen. Oh, it's very similar, of course. I wouldn't be going to say otherwise, would I? But one thing Ruth had forgotten when it was arranged, apparently Ruth had said to her friend, now don't forget to tell him that I'm a female wrestler. I'm not sure why she ever said that. So I was a bit shocked. I was a bit surprised. Not only surprised, I was a bit disappointed actually. A fairly small person came out.
After about 6 weeks, Les said, oh, we'll go for a drive. And then he said, my parents live up there. Would you like to meet them? And I said, I was a bit taken aback, but I said, oh, yes. And so I met his parents, and I thought they were lovely, which was a good thing. And then we sort of just stayed in touch and got more and more serious and more serious. So I thought it was about time he came home on our holidays to meet my parents. In fact, from then on, I hardly saw Les because Dad sort of kept coming home and saying, oh, Les, we'll go and do this. Oh, Les, come on, come and give me a hand with this. And anyway, I said to Mum, I'm not seeing much of Les. And Mum said, don't worry, it means your father likes him. So that was good. So I don't know what his impressions were of me, but I thought he was the most gorgeous thing I'd ever set eyes on, and the most wonderful natured person I'd ever set eyes on. In a way there was, because I had set my life. I was going to finish my training, I was then going to do midwifery, and then I was going to work to try and become a matron and run my own hospital. Men didn't feature in it at all because I couldn't think of anything worse than doing housework and washing and ironing, because I was no good at it anyway. And I went down and I was all prepared to tell him, but as soon as I saw him, it all went out the window, and I thought, oh, hang that. So, yes, there was a time when I was all prepared to go on with my career, and the career just went flat as soon as I saw him. So that was the end of that.
Well, I can't say there was any magical moment, no. There was just a long, gradual process. Long, gradual process.
Yeah, I'd be...
Oh, fairly quickly. You know, first few weeks, I guess. But that's a long time ago we're talking about, but my recollection from the day is it was fairly, you know, within certainly no more than a month or so, I guess.
Well, I think probably his kindness. I think he's probably one of the kindest. I'm going to get all emotional now. No, I think he's just probably one of the most decent, kindest people, and he's very patient, particularly with me. You know, I mean, there's no backseat driver like me. And, you know, I help him all the time when we're driving. And he just takes it. He says, I couldn't do this without you in the car, you know.
I think most married couples would say much the same thing, is we get on so well together and she's easy to get on with. I don't always tell her that. But for the most part, that's exactly right. I think that's the reason that we ended up clicking together in the first place, is that we had no difficulty communicating at any stage, which is pretty special.
There was a little secret my mother told me once. She said, if you can just sit and drive in a car and be silent but be perfectly contented, and not feel you have to jump in, you're pretty much on the right track. So
Never noticed you did that. But anyway.
I didn't say I always followed Mum's advice. That's probably true. It sort of worked up, and I thought, well, I really would like to know what sort of we're going to plan for the future. And they said, oh, well, you know, when we're married, blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, is that a proposal? And he looked a bit puzzled and he said, I suppose it is. Well, we'll go and look for an engagement ring on our next days off. So then we went in, and I'm looking at the really cheap ones because I didn't want to, you know, him to pay too much. And he said, don't you like these over here? And I said, of course I do. I really do. I like this one. And he said, well, bring it out, we'll try it on. So I tried it on, and then Les said, how much is that? And sort of when he picked himself up from the floor, and he said, I'll put that on lay-by. So he put it on lay-by, and I thought, oh, I won't be able to have it for about 12 months because he had to go home and ask my father for my hand first. And anyway, with the next days off, he came, picked me up, and we drove out of the hospital, and we got through the gate, and he pulled up again. He parked. And I said, what are you doing? He said, oh, there's just something I want to show you. And out of his pocket was my ring, and he'd gone and paid for it, and that was just one of the most exciting, beautiful moments that I can imagine. Oh, I still get goosebumps when I think about that. Now, do you remember?
Obviously.
No, good.
Of course I remember.
I think when you thought you had that growth in your arm. That was terrible. Yes, he was in intense pain, and he went up to the doctor and he said, oh, we'll send you for an x-ray. And he went and had his x-ray, and the doctor said, bring the x-ray straight back to me. And even the radiologist came out with them, and he said, I think you better take these straight back to your doctor. Les opened it up and saw the report, and there was a suspect sort of, you know, bony cancer. And so the doctor rang up for an appointment for the specialist, but those 3 days before we could go. And so Les went in to the doctor, the specialist, and I'm sitting there and I'm just feeling quite sick. And he came out and he had a big grin on his face. And I said, what? And apparently it was this extra bony growth from an injury, and he'd been working up on the farm and he'd whacked his shoulder and he'd forgotten that. And it apparently created this extra calcification. And it was like another bone sitting above the bone. And that was an unbelievable relief. So that was a pretty ghastly 3 days.
The takeaway message, of course, is don't look at doctors' reports. Don't be sneaky.
Yes, well,
don't open them.
Yeah, he did.
I've done it since.
Yeah.
I thought I was diagnosed with some serious blood disorder some years ago.
Oh yes, that was another one.
Again, they had to wait and wait and wait and wait. But I think it was Professor Penny ended up saying, well, you know, send him away and tell him to try to live a healthy life. So here I am another 20 years later, I'm still living a healthy life.
Well, I don't
reasonably
healthy.
Except for the cake today.
You should never feel that it's up and you're up at the heights, and then if you don't hear from them, you're down in despair. And then you're up in the heights and you're down in despair. Your heart can't live like that. It won't last long.
In other words, be realistic.
Yes.
Realistic in life, have expectations that are realistic and not too high. Too high. Is that right?